All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar, AP Automation in NetSuite. My name is Navina Boppana. I'm the project manager here at Tvarana. I'm responsible for client communication, requirement gathering, and project implementations using native NetSuite features or customizations. Throughout this webinar, we will be walking you through a live demo in NetSuite. We will be using a NetSuite test account, which may be slower than you're used to, so please be patient with us. We also have a chat feature where you can ask questions during the webinar. Before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to go over a few things. Firstly, if you have any questions, please feel free to add them to our chat box. We have a special member of our team answering all your questions in real time. Secondly, we will be asking a few poll questions throughout this time. Your response is greatly appreciated and will help us shape these webinars. Lastly, I'd like to share a little bit of background information on Tvarana. As a company, we were founded in 2007 as a Salesforce and NetSuite consulting firm. In 2008, we became a NetSuite solution provider. In 2014, we created our first suite app, SkyDoc, which is a storage solution for NetSuite. We now have over 8 apps on suiteapp.com and continue to provide support, manage services, and integration services for NetSuite and Salesforce clients. Let me now introduce today's speaker, Shravanti Tallapalli. Shravanti is our project manager. She is responsible for delivering our NetSuite customization and integration projects of varying scale. Let's give a warm welcome to Shravanti.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon.
Vendor invoice management is a tedious process relying on paper and manual effort and requiring control over every aspect of invoice processing, approval workflows, and payment processing. Paper and manual handling also slow down the purchase order process. An invoice management platform helps reduce time and cost considerably. AP automation simplifies the entire purchase to pay cycle for easier purchasing and faster invoicing processing. Tvarana's Portals Pro is built on the NetSuite platform and relies on native NetSuite workflows to automate the entire vendor invoicing process that would have been previously handled by an accounts payable team. In this webinar, you will learn about Tvarana's vendor portal in NetSuite, Portals Pro, and how easy it is to manage vendors by using this portal. Shravanti, does NetSuite have a vendor portal and can you explain how does it work?
Yes, Navina. NetSuite comes with a vendor portal and can be assigned to vendors. Even though there is a vendor portal, the UI is quite archaic. We've not seen many customers adopt it and feel that there could be a better solution. Considering this gap, we have built a vendor portal called Portals Pro on NetSuite platform that you just mentioned. It could be used by all NetSuite clients. It is simple to assign access to vendors. It is secure and has a very intuitive and interactive interface. Let me walk you through the process of assigning vendors access to the vendor portal. I'm sharing my screen here. Let me know if there are any issues. All right. So I Once a vendor is selected for any service or any other offering, we can create a vendor record and assign them access. So I just logged into NetSuite and go to list relationships and vendors and create a new vendor. This is the form that pops up. I have some information pre-typed to save some time. So the information that we are focused on is the email address and the password and the the checkbox here that says vendor portal external access. This needs to be checked so the vendor has access to vendor portal. The email ID and password are required for logging in to the portal. The password field here is not shown for security reasons. And vendor portal notification checkbox is a checkbox that needs to be checked in, so the vendor, whenever they're created within NetSuite, get a notification with the link to the vendor portal and the login credentials. Before we go through any further processing, we put the onboarding approved checkbox as unchecked, and this is how we set up a vendor initially within NetSuite.
Shravanti, does the vendor portal support the vendor onboarding process?
Yes, Navina. Vendor onboarding is a very important aspect of vendor management. It is important to take each vendor through the process and complete all the steps in the vendor onboarding process. This will not only help in completing all the documentation that is necessary, but also in validation of the vendor. Let me share my screen and take you through that process. All right. I am still in the vendor record screen. So as a part of the vendor portal, we have given the ability to NetSuite customers to take all their vendors through the vendor onboarding process. The way it is done is we go to Setup, Company, General Preferences, and we scroll down to Custom Preferences. This is the section here that sets up the vendor portal. The vendor onboarding feature, if it is turned on, all the vendors of that particular company will have to go through the vendor onboarding process. Vendors, as I just mentioned, will get a link and login credentials to log in to the portal. So let me show you how that one looks like. This would be the link, and username and password as provided in the email needs to be supplied. And this is how the vendor portal looks like during the onboarding process. It says under progress here. The vendor needs to come in here and put in some basic information. Again, I have some information typed in already. And this is the upload documents tab. Vendor could use this space for submitting any supporting documents that are necessary to establish the vendor relationship with the company. We could also use this feature as a medium for a company to share their onboarding documentation with its vendors. For example, if a company works with a lot of vendors and needs each of them to fill out a questionnaire, like a security screening or something, before they can be onboarded, it could simply attach the questionnaire to the portal so all their vendors have access to it right from the beginning. The same can be done for FAQs, user guides, or tutorials, whatever the company wants to share with their vendors. All of this can be easily achieved through our SkyDoc plugin, which I will talk about in a minute. So let me just take you through this. As I mentioned, if there are any onboarding documents, those could be attached here. I'm just waiting for the screen to refresh. There are a lot more documents because this account has been in use for a while now. But choosing the onboarding as a category, you can look at all the documents, and if there are any questions about how to go about the vendor portal, that can be done. The approver, as set up within NetSuite, will get notified and they can review all the information entered from within NetSuite. So I'll go back, submit the vendor onboarding documents. This is submit here. So the approver, whoever the company has designated to approve new vendors, would get an email saying there is a new vendor waiting to be onboarded, or an alternate way is for them to log into NetSuite and go to Setup, Vendor Portal, Vendor Onboarding tab, and this is where they would go to. I will just refresh this, and you can see that there will be a new record here with pending approval as a status. The approver could check the information that is entered, look at the documentation that has been supplied, and either choose to approve or reject. I will just go ahead and approve the vendor. So I'd like to take a few moments here to talk about SkyDoc, as I just mentioned. It is a file management solution for NetSuite users. It enhances NetSuite storage capabilities by integrating seamlessly with Amazon S3 storage. Since it uses Amazon Cloud for storage, it is scalable, secure, and cost-effective, especially when considering the storage size limitations set by NetSuite. SkyDoc can be used to attach files to any standard or custom records or any other entities using a simple drag and drop interface. Our customers have seen about 80% reduction in the document storage costs using SkyDoc. In short, it is the complete storage solution for NetSuite users. If you need further information on this, please feel free to reach out to us.
Shanti, based on what I have seen, I'm guessing there is a vendor management
Yes,
piece to
Navina.
this,
Yeah.
right?
So we have built this as a very interactive portal. Vendors can use this portal to review all their transactions and also understand what the status of each of their transactions is. Remember, vendors are a very important part of a company's success and growth. It will help smoothen the relationship between a vendor and company if they can log in and see all the information that they're entitled to see. Let me share my screen back again and show you how the vendor portal looks like once the vendor is approved. I'll go in here, log out, and try to log back in. All right, so as you can see, there is a lot more tabs in here now once the vendor is approved. This one right here is the basic profile. The information that is displayed here is static, it cannot be changed. But if there are more fields that need to be added as per company's requirement, that can be added as well. This space could be used as a logo for the company. I just put in information about Tvarana here. And now the vendors will be able to look at purchase order information, item receipts, bills, payments, written authorizations, etc. I will just take you through one of them, purchase order list. Assuming now that the vendor has been in this system for a while, we can see that there has been transactions, pure transactions within this account. I'll just open one of them. This generates a PDF format of that particular transaction. It uses the standard PDF that comes from NetSuite and can be customized as well. So this is how it would look like. This can be saved, printed, etc. So on the same lines are the other transactions that they have access to.
Shravanti, this looks like a good solution, right? So, can you explain how do vendors enter bills?
Vendors can utilize our OCR feature to achieve this. We have integrated with an industry best OCR solution that uses machine learning to read data on the bills. Using this, the vendor just needs to scan one or more bills. The data on the bill is then automatically read and presented back. If for some reason the accuracy of the data read by the OCR tool is not satisfactory, the vendor can edit the data before submitting it for further processing. Let me show you how that works. I'm still on the vendor portal. I would go to upload vendor bills. As Navina mentioned, the system is slower than expected because we are in the test environment. All right. Upload type would be OCR, and the vendor could just drag and drop or just browse to one bill or multiple bills, whatever they want to submit. Once that is done, the document is sent to the OCR engine to be read. And once the bill is ready and sent back to NetSuite from the OCR engine, a notification will be sent to the vendor on the email address that they're registered with. That usually takes a few seconds. So I have a document ready that I can walk you through. It's just the same bill, but I submitted that a few minutes ago. So this is a sample vendor bill. It talks about the total and the date and invoice number. As you can see, it has been read exactly the same by the OCR engine. The OCR accuracy here talks about how confident the OCR engine is about reading the data on the bill. 95 is a very good percentage. So, as I mentioned, if for some reason any of this information is incorrect, that could happen if there are handwritings or if the document itself is not very clear. The vendor could come in and say edit and change the invoice date and amount. Or another use of this edit feature is to tag the bill to customer or say if it is billable or not. That can be updated accordingly. Once that is checked, the vendor could just submit the bill. All right, so this is a duplicate. I will talk about it in a little bit. I'll just go ahead, submit. Maybe all of them are duplicates. Well, yeah, since I have been using this account for quite a while now with the same set of documents, it is throwing me an alert, but we could just check and submit for further processing. Along with that, there are certain other features built into the screen, expand all, collapse all, and certain filters. You could filter by the upload date, invoice date, and status, etc.
Shravanti, as we are seeing the error, can you explain what happens if a vendor tries to submit the
Yeah,
same bill more
I
than
kind of
once?
walked you through this already a little bit. So let's say this is a document that the vendor is trying to submit. It says it is a duplicate because a similar document is already within NetSuite. So it says it's a duplicate of this particular bill number. So since this is a test account, we are allowing for a duplicate bill to be submitted to NetSuite. Any number of duplicates could be submitted, but this process could be changed to just stop the vendor from submitting duplicate bills if that is what needs to be built in.
Shravanti, what if the vendor has no bill to scan but wants to enter the bills manually?
Yeah, vendors can enter a bill manually if that is what they're looking for. Most of the vendors do have vendor bills, but if for some reason they don't, they can enter it manually. So they would go to Upload Vendor Bills tab, the same thing. And instead of choosing OCR as the upload type, they would choose manual and type in the bill information and say submit. And then it takes them through the same approval process.
Shravanti, how does the bill get saved inside of NetSuite?
As a part of the setup, all vendors are coded to an expense account and all the vendors' bills are coded to that expense account. We can see that in the vendor record. So let me take you to the vendor record, relationships, vendors. If you go to financial, we can see that there is a default expense account set up for this vendor. So all the bills that come in from that vendor will be coded to this expense account. But if for some reason there is no expense account set up when initially creating the vendor, it will default to whatever is there in the setup company preferences. So it would default to this one. Now you can see that all the bills have been attached to 5,000 to purchase merchandise as it is in here.
Right. Thanks, Shravanti. What happens if there are multiple lines on a vendor bill? Can you talk about that
Yeah,
also?
we could choose to have them as separate lines or a single line.
A lot of NetSuite clients have elaborate approval workflows created. How will that affect the vendor portal and bill entry?
Navina, we have considered this when designing the system. All the existing approval workflows will remain the same. None of them will be affected. We have only added an extra step before the actual creation of the vendor bill.
Shravanti, I have asked a lot of questions. Let me make sure I get one last one out. Can you explain, please, how does the bill matching work?
That is a great question. Currently, we are only processing non-inventory vendor bills. The bill matching will work as it is currently set up in the NetSuite system. There will be no changes to that.
Yeah, this looks like a good remote solution for vendors and contactless. What happens if vendors have questions or need any additional communication?
Sure, we have built a conflict resolution feature as a part of the portal. Vendors can create a case that can be routed to the appropriate person on the customer side who could then respond to the questions from the vendor and do the needful. Let me show you how that one works also. Sharing my screen here. Going back to the portal, say there is an issue. I would go to help desk and choose the issue type and subtype and say something like something like that. And right now we just have 1, 2, 3, 4 as issue types and subtypes, but we could give it more descriptive names. I'll go ahead and submit it. So the issue just got submitted, and this one shows the log of issues. So let's see. This is the one that I just submitted. So this is how it looks like from the vendor side of it. They could open chat and start conversing with whoever is assigned that particular ticket. All right. Let's say the vendor has put this in. Let me show you how that looks like from the NetSuite point of view. I would go to vendor portal and vendor resolution configuration for a minute here. So this is the configuration screen where we could assign the company's employees or the technical team to certain issue types, one or more issue types. Based on this mapping, the issues get routed to that person. So once that is done, I would go to vendor conflict resolution screen right here. And that shows the list of tickets that are assigned to the person, whoever is logged in. So I just typed in 2 lines of text there. So it says there is a notification, and you can look at what the vendor is trying to say. And say that is how the communication happens. I'll go ahead and refresh this here. That is how vendor and the technical support person can work on issues together. It need not just be technical support, but anybody who can help the vendor.
Shravanti, can vendors generate a statement from the vendor portal?
NetSuite doesn't support vendor statements out of the box, but we have built a vendor statement app on suiteapp.com. We have integrated that into vendor portal so the vendors can not only review transactions, but also generate their own statements for reconciliation. So vendor statements is the tab. And the vendor could choose any of these options here, include zero balance, open transactions, or exclude aging balance, and put in start date, statement date, and choose any currency that they're interested in. The base currency and due amount fields are read only that talk about the current status of that vendor. Let's say the vendor chose these options and say print. That again generates PDF statement. Since I chose all as the currencies, now it's showing me a statement against 2 currencies, Canadian dollar and USD, that are both assigned to that vendor. This could be, again, the same thing, downloaded, printed for their own reconciliation or documentation purposes. In short, it is like a customer statement that NetSuite generates, but on the vendor side.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this afternoon and participating in today's webinar. Here is our contact information. So, should you have any questions regarding this webinar or any of our services or suite apps, we have team members across the globe to help facilitate your needs. Also, please be sure to follow us on social media, and thanks everyone. Bye bye.